Tonight we're going to dive deep into asking the uncomfortable questions to your potential partner. If you've ever sat around a table with a group of friends or family discussing your current partner and you hear yourself saying, "How did I miss the signs? I didn't know that they were crazy," or maybe even that they don't believe in God. Whatever the case may be. If you're having the conversation where you find yourself asking more questions about your partner, this video will definitely help you going forward and potentially starting over with your potential partner the next time. So before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can catch more of my videos. I'd just like to say this. If you are a person that's afraid to investigate your potential partners, then you are not ready mentally for a relationship. There are things that you need to know before you even commit, before you even thinking about committing, saying that you're this person's person, saying that you're with this guy or you're with this girl. You need to back up and ask the uncomfortable questions first to just decide whether or not those individuals are even compatible with you. It's important to know your potential partner's past behaviors, mentality, spirituality before you commit. Now, I've compiled 20 questions that you should use to investigate, to dive deep. These are not artificial questions. These are some questions that are going to peel back layers on things that are uncomfortable, that people really don't like to address. Because let's face it, in the beginning, you just want it to be easy peasy. You're just entering it. So tonight, I'm going to help you with those uncomfortable questions. And I'm not saying go out on the first date or go out and talk to this individual and saying, hey, just drilling them like the FBI. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that before there are really commitments made to each other, before you really say that I'm theirs and they're mine, these are some questions to ask. So I got 20 questions for you to think about. And so we'll just run through them. The first being, how do you feel about being interrupted? Now you may be asking, why does that even matter? It matters because this question will show you exactly what kind of person that they will be, what their temperament is. You know how you are if you're behind the wheel and somebody cuts you off. Or you know how you are when you're on the floor at work and people cut you off in the middle of you trying to state your case or whatever it may be. You know how you are. Everyone's the same way. We all have some type of feeling when we get interrupted. So you want to see what that person's temperament is going to be about. Next, when life gets you down, how do you deal with it? You want to find out if that person maybe goes to the bottle or hits the drugs or just goes off and leaves, just dips out and disappears until things come back together for them. Next, how do you respond when your partner is late? Now, there are times when you have to be somewhere and your day is just gone to shit. And the last thing you need to be is late. Now, you know your temperament, but do you know theirs? Do you know how they handle being late? Do you know how they handle those deadlines? That's something for you to think about. Moving on. How does your partner feel about what you do for a living? Are they going to back you as a starving artist? Are they going to be there for you as you're trying to figure your career out? You may be 6 steps ahead of them. They may just be starting. How do you feel about that? Next, how important is sex to you? Now, maybe you have a high sex drive and they have none at all. Is it important to you that they match your drive? Better to know now than later, right? Moving on, how do you feel about your exes? And how do they feel about you? Do you still keep in contact with them? I know that that's a red flag for me. I would want to know. Just because you're cool with your ex doesn't mean that they're cool with you talking to your ex, or vice versa. Number 9, what's your relationship like with your parents? You need to know that relationship because it can open up a whole Pandora's box. How do they speak to their parents? Do they respect their parents? If they respect their parents, then they're going to respect you. That's something that you need to know. How do you want to be treated when you're down and depressed? You want them to leave you alone? You want to walk away? Do you want to go see a therapist? What do you want to do? How do you want to handle that? Sometimes that's a solo journey, and people don't want to let others in. You don't want to be in the dark when that happens. Moving on, what makes you feel most loved? Maybe eating chicken noodle soup and writing homemade cards makes you feel loved. But maybe the person that you're thinking about being with enjoys receiving gifts. Something to think about, right? Number 12. When you and your partner disagree, what do you say to resolve it? Do you say, I'm out, I'm done? Or do you say, let's give it a try? What can we do to get closer? I don't want to lose you. You know, do you want somebody that's going to fight for you, or do you want somebody that's going to flee at the first sign of things getting tough? Next question, how big of a deal is it for them to have religion in their life? Those are decisions that you're going to need to make, discussions that you're going to want to have, especially if you have kids. Maybe you want to raise your kids a certain way and your partner has never thought about it and or would never do it that way. So do you want to be unevenly yoked with that person? Something to think about. Next question. Where would you choose to live right now? Maybe they want to live in the city. Maybe you want to live in the suburbs. Maybe you want to live closer to work. Maybe you want to stay where you are. Maybe where you are isn't good enough for them. And so these are decisions that you will have to make. Don't just assume that they are going to want to move in with you. What are your values? Do you have any? What if your values don't match mine? Do I even want to go there? Do I even want to waste my time if we're not going in the same direction, if we don't have the same values? A big one. Do you think a couple's finances should be together or separate? That's definitely, if that's not in your top 3 questions, it should be within your top 10. You would be shocked and surprised about the finance question. Next, what are your political views? I will say, this has happened to me, where I believe automatically assumed that this person had the same political views as I did, and then I didn't know until we got to the poll, and it was like, really? I automatically assumed. And you know what they say about people that assume, right? Do you have a criminal record? Oh my goodness, please ask. What if you plan on taking a trip out of the country? And then it comes down to, baby, I can't take this trip with you, and you're like, why? And it comes up, well, I'm not supposed to leave the country. That's going to be a really awkward conversation right there. I'm not saying you can't move past it, but I'm just going to say that would be an awkward conversation. When do you meet their parents? You want to meet their parents. If you don't meet their parents, if you're not meeting their parents, then really you don't have a relationship and you probably don't have a future with them. But it's good to meet the parents because you realize why they do the things that they do. You know, a lot of women say, I don't want to be like my mother, and a lot of men say, I don't ever want to be like my father. And before you know it, we are our mothers. And men become their fathers. So, you know, that it says a lot. It says a lot. Moving on. What is the biggest turnoff for them in their relationship? Now, maybe for you, it's anybody that eats meat. And maybe for them, it's anybody that chews with their mouth open. I mean, those are petty things. Possibly. Maybe not the vegan thing, but still, possibly. Something that's small to you may be big to them. We're getting to the end here. How important is it for you to equally divvy up the chores? Now, this one can set you back. Because maybe they want you to go to work. And maybe you want to stay home and cook and clean. Or maybe vice versa. Role play is a very important question to ask. Next, where did you grow up? Seeing where a person grew up says a lot about them and what they do also. It's just as important as figuring out and meeting their parents. Maybe they grew up in the country and so they don't lock their doors. Maybe they're more trusting than somebody that may have grown up in the city and is always locking their doors and closing their curtains. Your environment molds you. So with these 20 questions, I hope that you will go out into the world, have an open mind, with that next potential partner. And before you jump into a committed relationship, just hang out. Whatever happened to just hanging out, getting to know them, filling them out, seeing just how they flow, just being their friend. Try that out. Try these questions out on them. See how it works. See how you feel about the answers that they give. And I'm not saying dig down deep and be the FBI or the CIA on the first, second, or third hangout. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying every now and then throw a question in there casually. And then see how you feel about the way that they answer. I hope you've enjoyed today's message. I hope you will take it out and apply it to your situation. Please share it if it has been beneficial to you. And again, please subscribe and like the channel. Thank you so much. Be blessed.